I'm glad you're still awake. This is one of the most powerful masking tools that can make all the difference in the world to your photographs. It's luminosity masking. So in Studio, if we bring up our mask, invert it, they call this tool Luma, but you can do very complex luminosity masking. I may not even wait to show you how I use this in a real photograph. I may just give you an example. If we click on that tool, we can again select something like here. I've selected the white circle. And you can see that just like with the color tool, there's a range. So I can turn this range down, and now only that white circle is being selected, even though there's a 20% gray, a 50% gray background, an 80% or so, 75% I think it is gray here, and these colors that are not anywhere near white, they're fairly dark colors. It's only selecting that white circle. So the power of this is being able to select only one luminosity or range of luminosities to mask. So let me show you about ranges, because this is where it's really going to be spectacular. So here we are in the Palouse of Washington, Eastern Washington, and the colors here are just not doing it for me. I want this to be maybe a little more like morning colors, where the shadows in the grass are a little on the bluer or purpley side, like shadows tend to be. And I want the highlights to be a little more peachy sunrise, sunset kind of colors. How do I do that? I don't want to paint each blade of grass or tuft of seed pod or awn. I don't want to have to paint those meticulously with a brush, but I can bring up a mask. So let's bring up some nice warm color like so. I'm going to change the blend mode to overlay, and you can see that that's given a nice glow, but it's covering everything. I don't want it to cover everything. I want it to cover just the highlights. So I bring up my mask, I click on Luma, and I'm going to say, you know what, I just want it to affect the highlights. So I'm going to choose a range. I'm going to start at 80% luminosity, so things that are bright, and I'm going to change the range so that it is at 40%, and that means that everything from 100 bright white to, let's say, 60% bright is going to be covered. So everything from here to here is going to be covered in this nice orange color. But right now you'll notice dark things are white here, and my color is mostly applied there, so I have to invert the mask after I've done that. Now I'll show you the before and the after. All my highlights are now this nice warm glow, and I can add another color. This time we'll make it kind of one of my favorites, kind of a dark periwinkly color, sort of desaturate it more, because this is going to be our shadows. And I might put it on soft light or overlay again, And right now it's covering the entire scene. So let's click on our mask, click on Luma, and now I'm going to go on the luminosity slider down to about 10% and bring that range down to 20. So now everything from black to about 10% of luminance is going to be covered by this purple. So we're getting close. Now I just need to adjust how much peachy orangey color do I want in my highlights, how much dark periwinkle do I want to cool down my shadows. If I want it to be more intense, maybe I'll switch to overlay and find a nice balance. So now let's look at the before and after. This is the before, this is the after. So I'm not saying this is an award-winning shot, but you get the idea. I can further make those highlights stand out more by making them wider. I can deepen it by going in the other direction. I can change what hue I want in there, saturation and brightness of what I'm blending, and get a pretty interesting effect. And instead of having to paint each blade of grass, if we just concentrate on this foreground area, I didn't have to paint the dark parts of the grass purpley. I didn't have to paint each part of this individually with a brush. I used a luminosity mask, and you can make those luminosity masks very tight in range or pretty wide in range, as you've seen. Okay, so what if we made the range of this luminosity mask a little wider? Kind of to match more or less what we did on the other side. Shrink back out. A much more dramatic picture. And again, you can adjust the amount of either of the effects or both of them. Before and after. So that's how powerful luminosity masking is and how simple it makes it compared to trying to use a brush tool on each individual frond of grass.